Welcome back.
Hello, friends. It is a scorching 25 degrees outside on this snow day.
Had to scrape my car with
But
the
this looks
stick.
weird.
Ooh, it's wet.
But we are so glad to have had this day.
To work on
Our
homework.
next project. Ready? Emery, what book did we read this
We
week?
read George. It was a super cute book about a 4th or 5th grade boy that thinks that, or that knows.
Young man.
Young man that knows that he is a girl. And it talks about his journey in a school system about that and how her friends treat her and the things that she has to face. And one of the big things was the play where she wanted to be Charlotte and the
In
teacher
Charlotte's
was
Web.
like, no. So it talks all about that. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it was really good. And it would be a good thing to have in your classroom, I think, to help kids if they're feeling that way, that they could relate to. It is written very easily. Like the author wrote it so kids could read. Like that, you definitely can tell. So yeah. Anything else? Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Okay. So George, the themes that were in
Several
this
good
book.
ones.
Multiple good ones. I think one that we could maybe focus on as a class that we've been talking about anyways is interrupting the gender stereotypes that society has so kindly set up for us.
Kind of breaking those gender roles that have been set, like if you're a boy, you have to drive a truck. If you're a girl, you have to wear pink. That kind of stuff.
What does a girl drive?
I don't know.
I drove an F-150 in high school, so...
Breaking the gender roles.
All right.
Here we are.
Themes.
Yep, great themes.
Amazing. Let's get into it. All right, McKenna. What is gender?
So, contrary to everyone's belief, gender is actually not a sex. So it's not male or female. Your gender is not male. Your gender is not female. But rather, it's a social construct. So gender is a social construct that society has kind of set up and created what it is. Anatomically?
Yeah.
Anatomy says that male and female is sex, which sex and gender are two different things.
Different, which I did not know until I came to college for
I didn't know that
sure.
either.
But we had, I think everybody probably had it, that panel during Foundations that we got to listen to, which was super informative. That would be a really good thing for our class to be a part of. Anyways, that is gender,
Yes.
the difference between sex and gender.
And so a lot of times, I think especially in the articles that we were reading, it's hard for us to talk about this kind of stuff with our kids. And so we really we were talking earlier about how we liked the video of the read aloud, the boy with the bindi, and kind of how that message was portrayed in a way that
How kids can take that. And
so it's a more innocent way for kids to learn this stuff, because as that author was saying, you don't want to push kids, and you also don't want to you want to leave stuff open for interpretation. And so we really liked how the author of that book kind of left it open for kids to explore all of their different options.
Right?
No, and he didn't ever say
gender. Sorry.
He didn't ever say transgender, or there was no LGBTQ
there was
language,
no
formal
language.
label either.
Yeah, label,
which he was saying really kind of leaves things open for kids for interpretation and room for them to explore themselves, which leads into our other theme: be who you are.
Drive that truck, girl.
So yeah, that's that.
It was a really good video. Read aloud. Okay. Next up
back.
on the vlog,
It's Q&A time.
Q&A about
All right.
the articles.
Emery,
McKenna.
as a teacher, how do you think that you should go about thinking about this kind of stuff, like
I
with
think,
emphasis on our theme for this week.
okay. With emphasis on the theme, I think that the language arts article that we read talked a lot about transferring our thinking from, like, can we include these texts, like this?
Can we?
Like, should we, can we
Right.
include these texts in our classroom and incorporate them a lot? To, like, go from that to how can we do this, like, not daily, but more often. Like, not can we, not should we do it? But, like,
Right.
how can we? How should we
Right.
be doing that?
So kind of just changing our thinking from, like, can we? Is this allowed? What are people going to say?
Like, tiptoeing around it, kind of,
Yeah.
to just doing it. As long as you can back
Just
it up.
do it.
Good. Okay. Check. So when do you think, McKenna, that we should start talking about this with our kids? Like, when should you start doing it as a teacher?
Well, in the other article that we read, it talked about how basically having these conversations with our students as early as possible is the best way to go about it. So in, like, when you think about early childhood or maybe even lower elementary grades, it talked about how a lot of the picture books that they're reading can really influence, like, their perceptions on gender roles, and it can really influence what they think about boys and what they think about girls and the roles and the stereotypes and all of that stuff. And so the earlier that we talk with kids about this, the better. And also, as our role as the teacher, we have to evaluate the quality of the text to make sure
Right.
that we're not reading them books that are going to mislead them or guide them into thinking
That's how they should be acting.
right, when really we need to give them books that have open endings so that they can explore on their own.
Right. And that's why we
Kinda make their own
both really
decisions.
liked the Bindi book.
Yeah, and we had some quotes from that book, didn't we?
Didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
So one of our favorites was, "It keeps me true, it's more than just a spot, bringing the beauty where it's not." I thought that was really sweet.
Hits me right here.
Yeah. And then there was another one that we really liked. That one.
Don't
Don't
hide what you have.
She can't read my
inside.
handwriting.
Don't hide it.
So basically, I mean, that's what this whole entire unit was about. Is like,
Yeah.
we should be teaching our kids that, like, not to be afraid of embracing who they are. And what they have on the inside is just as important, if not more important, than what they show others on the outside. And so,
Clearly from
Yeah.
George, that was like the main thing.
Yeah.
I feel like.
and so with these books, we can help teach kids that who they are is important and that they shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, because not only can they assimilate with the characters in these books, but by voicing it and talking about it, they might discover that there are other peers or you know, friends, or maybe even other teachers in the school that are similar to them.
I think that that's a really good point. And also looking at, like, if they don't, what's the word? Like, fit in with the main character, like, if they're not, what is that word? Like, I don't know what I'm trying to
They're
say.
not what?
If, like, they don't relate. If they
you
can't,
can't
relate
relate.
to the main character, I feel like everybody could relate to Kelly in the book, The Best Friend.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Like, helping other people through that, even if that's not what you're going through, and just being
Right. If
kind
you
and
can't
accepting.
Be an ally.
Yeah.
I think was a lot of what our classmates were putting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Talking about being
Oh,
an
yeah.
ally for those. So even if it's not something we necessarily believe in or agree with, just
There's no excuse not
No.
to be kind.
right and not to be an ally to those, especially when you're the teacher and those kids are in your classroom.
Yeah.
So
There you have
that's
it.
it. That's the tea. Stay tuned for the last segment of this vlog. Welcome back, folks. So,
Welcome.
last but not least, we want to talk about some ways that the articles talked about how we can help our students and how we can be a little bit more prepared now if we have a student in our class.
And give them what they need.
Yeah, and help them. be
So-
who they are.
How can we help?
So, first things first.
We can help them learn the definitions.
Yeah, so learning ourselves about
Right.
students that are going,
Mm-hmm.
through this transitioning process, kind of like learning what we can to help them.
I feel like the gender sex thing also would be
Yeah.
a big part of that, to just start.
And knowing
like,
the difference.
Right.
And then also like working past our own biases,
Mm-hmm.
because as adults, like, we tend to have our own biases that keep us from,
Like subconscious biases too.
that we don't even know we have.
Right.
And so the article talked about addressing those, and then also being proactive, not reactive. So have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
be ready, be prepared, and like, because you don't want to not know what to say to a student if they were to approach you. We need to be educated on how we would handle a conversation
Right.
with a child like that.
That's hard
So,
too. I don't
yeah.
feel like I would be ready.
I
Maybe
feel like
after
I'm more
this
ready
book,
now.
But yeah, not before this
Before
class.
I wouldn't have. So thank you, Dr. Fry.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to you.
Shout out, Dr. Fry! Woo!
Okay.
And
so,
yeah, so we thought this was a really cool idea, the genderbread person.
oh yeah.
So-
So that goes against some stereotypes, huh?
Mhm. Yeah, and basically, like, it takes something that kids all know about. We all
Mhm.
know the gingerbread man. Everybody's familiar with that.
And
that
that's an easy
lines
way
it out.
if they don't have, that's like a common experience. Like
Yep.
if they don't have that experience, that's super easy to do in your classroom too.
Yeah, and the gingerbread man, non-binary, so there's really no.
Mhm.
But it talks about like how your attraction comes from your heart, and then your sex comes from your body parts, and then your gender comes from what you identify with and what you associate with and what you like, what you don't like, that kind of stuff, how you act. So we thought that was kind of
Yeah.
a good visual for kids. And then last but not least, as teachers, we want to encourage them to take a stand. And
Gretchen,
so, Gretchen, Emory found this really cool project on one of the websites.
it's called the Gender Cool, excuse me, project for awareness, and it just helps promote the idea of standing up for gender awareness
Yeah.
and
and
everything
being an
we talked
ally,
about.
being an ally, and it just gave really good resources and ideas for your students to get involved in promoting awareness for this, because it's 2019, it's becoming
Get
more and
with
more
it.
common, and it needs to be something that everybody's educated on. So
And that's the tea.
that's the tea, sis. We've
For
spilled
this
it,
book.
and this is our last vlog.
I'm gonna
This is
cry.
so sad. We've had so much fun with this, and we hope you've loved watching.
Till
See you next semester.
Bye.